Yeah, it's recorded. Okay. So now what happens for any variable? What is the special rule? The first thing is you can specify what is the type. This is called as the type of variable integer. So here sometimes you can float, sometimes you can mention the double. So that's why this is the data type. And next one, this is the variable name. What is the rule for the variable name? Number one, the first variable starting letter is a alphabet. Variable starting level is a alphabet. Okay, then after that you can any combination. But variable name is not a reserved words. You don't use reserved words for the variable names. Okay. Third one, after variable is indicated, at the end you can put the semicolon. So this is the third indication. First is the data type. Second is the first letter is the alphabet, and the third one is the at the end of that you can put the semicolon. And fourth one, any variable should be assigned. Without assign a value, you will get the wrong answer. So these are all the rules for. And next one, don't use the reserved words. And next one, next important thing is that suppose some programs contain that you can declare the variables at the starting part of the program. But in the Java, you should declare the variables anywhere of the program, Okay, anywhere of the program. Right. Next one, suppose sometimes you don't want to change the value. That means you want to put the variable as a constant. So that constant value should be, that constant value is either globally accepted. That means wherever you go, let us take pi. So pi is equal to 3.14. So wherever you go, the pi value is equal to 3.14. So such type of is globally variables. That global variable has a constant value. So that constant value is called as a static variable. But sometimes within the program, you do not want to change that value, then that value act as a constant. Okay. So for that purpose, you can use the word final. If you are using the word final, which is used in the that is the body part of the program, not in the class part. It is the body part of the program. If you are using the final before the final of the variable name, let us take suppose integer mark. So if I am saying that final integer marks, then wherever you go the marks, that value is equal to 87. So that 87 will become the fixed. That's a constant. Okay. So repeat, suppose I want to make marks as a constant, then what can you do? Before the integer, then you can put the final. So then you can use as a constant. So where you are using, it is not in the class part, it is a part of the body of the function, body of the program. Okay, right. So to make the constant in the body part of the program, you can use the final. But how to create a constant value globally? So that means wherever you are trying, suppose there are so many objects, are object 1, object 2, object 3, object. In all the objects you want to set as a constant value, then what can you do? You can assign a variable in the class part. You can assign a variable in the class part, then you can say that static integer marks. Static integer marks is equal to 87. Then what happens? Wherever you are, any object, if you are writing the marks, then its value is equal to 87, which should not be changes. But what is the difference between that and this? Okay, I can explain now. So let us take, there are three types of variables are there. Number one, local variable. Number two, instance variable. Number three, static variable. Okay, in the next slide, I want to discuss about the three variables separately. So local variable. What is the local variable? Suppose one object is there. In that object, you are assigning, you are indicating integer y is equal to 10. So that y, having the y variable is executed only in that particular object. Once you are going to the object 2, if you are writing y into x, then what happens? It is not executed because you are not assigned the value in the object 2. Okay. I request all the students after finishing this session, you can re-log in, okay, with the same login ID and same password. Okay, I think you are understanding local variable. Local variable is only execute for a particular object. So that variable cannot be used, but that doesn't exist in the next object, so it is not executed. So its value should be changes. So local, within the object, you can use the one. Next is the static. Just like in previous, I'm saying that pi is equal to 3.14. Then wherever you are using the pi, so then what is the thing? In the class part, you should mention, okay, static. So static stands for standard. That is the fixed value. So don't move. Variable, so it's a move. So static stands for standing, no changes. So that's why in the class part, if you are mentioning the static, a variable, wherever you are using the object, which object you can use, then all the object is having the same value. That is called as a constant. Now I want to explain one important thing that is called as a instance variable. It's a very, very important instance variable. So what is the instance variable? You are mentioned the variables in the class part, but that is not a static. That's not static, but you are varying that, you are using that variable in the different objects, in different object. But okay, I can explain it very, very clearly, you can understand. So please mute us. Hello? Hello? Please mute your voice. Please mute your voice.
Sir.
Please mute your voice. Here it is a recording. Okay, let us take, I am explaining. Suppose this is a one object part. In the object part, you are mentioning integer and what is the variable? N, and its value is equal to 90. If you are creating another object, then this 90 is not exist. This n value is not exist. It is workable only to the this part only, up to this part only up to this part only. So that's why its variable is only executed up to this value. Then this is called as a local. This is called as a local. Suppose let us take this is the integer data. So actually, I'm not saying that this is a not a static. This is an integer. So I am using this data. This is the variable. This variable can be used in different objects. In different objects. One object, its data value is equal to 50. In another object, its data value is equal to 60. In the another object, this variable having the 60 value. So that's why you are using this value in the different objects. But this is not a static. Static stands for constant value. But this is not a static. This variable can be used in the object. So that's why this is called as a instance variable. This is called as a instance variable. It should be mentioned in the class. So that means integer data cannot separately mention in each and every object. I repeat, integer data value cannot be mentioned in each and every object. So once you can mention in the object in the class, then you can use that variable. But in each and every object, that variable name is, that value is different. So I can show you an example. So many people admitting in the last of the session, it's not good. So let us take, I'm explaining the one, this is called as a one program. Let us take program. I'm explaining the instance variable. Suppose what is the name? Class. What is the class name? Student. What is that? This is the class. So what is the name of the class? Student. So that's why in the class session, I am specifying the two variables. These two variables are instance variable. How, why it is instant, I'm explaining. So what is the data type? String. So what is the string value? String variable name? Student name. So string stands for more than one character is there, that is called as a string. So string is equal to student name. What is the data type here? integer. What is the variable name? Student score. So that's why in our class there are 795 students are there. Each student name is different and each student register number is different. So that's why I am mentioning the string student name and integer student score. These are also variables. Let us take. I am creating the two objects. I am creating the, suppose student 1 object and student 2 object. Student 1 object. So in the student 1, I am using these variables. What is the student name? Suppose some Ganesh. What is his register number? 21. In student 2, what is the student name? Okay, Prasad. So what is the student number? We say 89. So that's why I am using the student name, student score as a single variable, but in the different objects. Different object. But in the different object, these variables are different. Okay, so that's why such a type of variables are called as a instance. Such variables are called as a instance variable. You are declaring the variables in the class. That variables can be used in the different objects. As long as object is created, you can use that variable. Suppose once the one object is closed, so the corresponding information and variable should be lost. Okay, I think you are getting the clear idea. Mentioning the variables at the class, but the same variables can be used in the different object. As the object created, then what happens? Your variables are created. As the object closed, your variables are closed in a particular object. So such a type of variables are called as a instance variables. So what are the features of this? Instance variable can be used only by the creating the objects. So that means in our class, 95 students are there. Each student having, I want to maintain one record that is called as object. In that object, I am using the student name and student marks. So that's why I am using the same value. But value is different. But what happened? The names are the same. That is, variable name is the same, but value should be changes. Okay, right. So what happens? Somebody is raising hand. Okay. Next. So every object will have its own copy of instance variables. So that means his name is same, his name is different, okay, and number is different in the different objects. So your name is same, okay. In your object, your name is some name is there, some number is there, but in the different. Suppose your friend name is different and your register number is different. So that's why every object will have its own copy of instance variables. So each and every student having the name and marks. But what happened? Why it is called as a variable? Because your name is different and your register number is different. So that's why this is called as a, so variable name is the same, but the values are different. So that's why it is called as a instance variables. Instant variable. Okay. And suppose for the instance variable, the rule is you are not mentioned the static. You are not mentioned the static because it's a variable. Why? Because your name, your register number, your friend name, your friend register number changes. So that's why it is not a constant. So it is called as an instance variable. So that's why if you are fixed, then you can call it as a static. If it is variable, then you can use the instance variable. Okay, right. Suppose, can I say one important example? Suppose in your second, from first year, your number is not changes. Okay, for the second year, your number is not changes. For the third year, your number is not changes. For the final year, your number is not changes. Your name is not changes. But what is changes? Marks will be changes. So that's why marks are the local. Marks are the local. So, but register number and the name is the static. So as long as up to your throughout the course, your name is not changes, your number is not changes. So that's why you can call it the static. But in the marks, it's the changes. Okay, right. So this is about the instance variable. Next, I want to discuss, up to this point of view, I am using the variables. Okay, right. Up to now, data are over, variables are over, and next, operators. Because operators can perform certain operations. What are the different types of operations are exist? Okay, right. So I can show one diagram. Let us take how many operators are there? So there are so many operators are there, but a few maximum utilized operators are listing here. Unary operators. Unary operators.